Hey everyone, I'm Benjamin, and welcome to my book club. We finally found out what happened to Europa. Spiders ate it. Classic. So we've read up to chapter 47 now, and these chapters were really fun, so we'll just jump right into the recap. The spiders, the silver metallic robot-y spiders that we learned about last episode, have given us some more information in these ones and have begun to make their move. According to Ruben, the guy that we met last episode, he tells Trevor Hicks that the spiders are a separate entity from the aliens that are currently on Earth, and they're opposed to them, they're fighting them. And the spiders are only a small part of this group that is fighting against these aliens that are trying to destroy the planet. He describes them as competing von Neumann probes, basically. If you don't know what a von Neumann probe is, it's a concept of a robotic probe that uses the resources of the systems it finds to build more copies of itself. So you send one to the closest star, it gets there, builds 10 of itself, and sends them to 10 different stars, which each then get there, build 10 of themselves, and spread to the next star. It's a way of propagating across the galaxy in a really efficient and extremely quick measure. So these spiders claim to be of a competing probe line, basically, that are trying to destroy the current aliens that are on Earth, that are trying to protect the life of the planets that these other aliens are attacking. Through Ruben, we learn that these spiders can sting a person and seemingly inject something within them, probably nanomachines would be my guess. And at that point, they become part of the network. And the spiders, or the people or aliens controlling the spiders, can then influence and control those humans. And they're trying to work together to not save the Earth. According to them, it's too late for that. They arrived too late. They had to stop at Europa to gather fuel. They used hydrogen for fuel. So they used the ice and rock of Europa to build more of either themselves or of some spacefaring examples. And they used the water under the ice at Europa to break it up into the hydrogen and oxygen, use the hydrogen as their fuel. And that took too long, and they couldn't get to Earth in time to prevent what's going to happen. The Earth is doomed. The Earth is going to be destroyed as far as these aliens are concerned. But what they can do is help construct arcs. They say the arcs are already in construction on the planet, and through them they're going to be able to save examples of plants, animals, and I believe he says 1,000 to 2,000 humans, and that's all that they're going to be able to do. The spiders also claim that the aliens that are trying to destroy the Earth are laying hydrogen bombs along the ocean floor. And this is confirmed later on when we see some satellite imagery that shows free oxygen in pockets above every trench and fracture point on the ocean floor that we know about. So it looks like they're using the water at the bottom of the ocean, ripping the hydrogen out of it and making hydrogen bombs, and letting the oxygen float back to the surface, which accounts for the ever-rising oxygen levels and the ever-lowering sea levels that we're seeing. We also learn from a theory from a science fiction author what the objects orbiting in the center of the Earth might be. His theory is that they are one neutronium orb and one anti-neutronian orb. Neutronium is a matter that is so dense that the electrons and protons have merged together under the force of the gravity and the pressure that it's under to become neutrons, and so there are no protons or electrons in it, and this makes for an incredibly dense, small, heavy mass. And then the anti-neutronium is the same thing but made of antimatter. And then the theory here is that the antimatter one will stop in the center of the Earth, and then eventually the neutronium will touch it, and they will annihilate each other and destroy the planet. Presumably the hydrogen bombs will go off at the same time, and it'll crack the planet apart so that it can be mined. Meanwhile, President Crockerman is searching for allies. Everyone's turning against him after his speech about giving up. Even his religious figure that he was talking with, Ormandy, has been shot and killed. He's been assassinated by a lone gunman somewhere in Texas. We find this out in one of these background sections between the chapters that I'm really enjoying. These little media snapshots, like newspapers or articles in this case. He believes that there's a conspiracy going on to subvert his control of the country as the president. And he's not wrong. We see this conspiracy from the other side. We see the colonel in charge of the base at Death's Valley, who up to this point I've not bothered naming because I wasn't sure if he's going to be important. but he's very clearly going to be important going forward, is Lieutenant Colonel Rogers. He was the first man to go inside the spaceship in Death Valley, and he was the one that was concerned about the orders to not destroy it. And he now seems to be working in a conspiracy that involves NSA agents, politicians, senators, to smuggle a nuclear weapon to Death Valley and to go inside the alien spacecraft and attempt to demolish it against the express orders of the president. I'm not sure who else knows about these. I don't know if any of the task force members, like Arthur, Harry, Trevor, if any of them know about this conspiracy. The president seems to think that Arthur knows. He calls Arthur, who turns him down and doesn't talk to him. Arthur's dealing with a real rough time as he's been called to Harry's hospital bed, who appears to be dying. They have a really moving final, I know I said the last one was final, but this one is almost certainly final meeting with each other. And I teared up a bit. It was really moving and special, and they told each other the sort of things they needed to tell each other. And Arthur reveals to us that he has become infected by the spiders. He's become part of this network. A woman approached him at an airport and gave him the spider, and it bit him. And so now he's part of this information network created by the spiders to try and fight back and save what they can of humanity. And he tells Harry this, so that Harry can die with some amount of peace, that there might be some hope for some people. And it's very moving. And Harry gives Arthur his final paper that he wrote. And it's a interesting theory that Arthur has. It's an interesting theory that Harry has. Harry's theory in this paper is that we as humans and animals and whatnot aren't independent organisms. We're basically cells. We're basically as to Earth as cells are to us. So the independent organism is the planet Earth. He calls Gaia. He calls it a planetism and says that it's probably one of many. And he likens the aliens invading as other planetisms reproducing and spreading their genetic history along with what it is to be life, the information of what Earth is, the genetic backdrop of the plants and animals and societies, and that information and spreading that among the stars. I'm not really sure what to make of that. It's definitely a very interesting piece. I'm not sure I believe that really, but it's really interesting to think about. We also see Reuben attempting to convince Trevor Hicks to join the spiders voluntarily. Trevor seems to believe him, but refuses to accept that it's something he wants to do. He doesn't want to give up the possibility of his free will to join this network. Reuben says that, that's a shame, and then the spider bites him anyway, and he becomes part of it. And then he immediately feels calm about that and loves it. And so it brings up a really interesting point about free will, and is Arthur or Trevor, do they have any agency anymore, or are they just completely under the control of the spiders who are letting them believe that they're doing what they want to do? These chapters were really fun. They asked a lot of really cool, interesting questions that I really enjoyed. Harry posits a possible answer to the Fermi paradox in his paper, stating that loud, noisy planetisms attract attention from other planetisms and predatory planetisms, like a herbivore trumpeting in the forest, and the carnivores will come and eat it. And he likens that that's what's going on with the alien invaders. As for what's going to come up going forward, I'm not really sure. It's really the idea of a second group for the spiders, if they're telling the truth and it's not just another misinformation campaign, has really thrown me for a loop. I'm not sure where Greg Bear's going to go with that. I'm a little worried now with the conspiracy to detonate a nuke in the spacecraft in Death Valley. That what if the spacecraft in Death Valley is one of these arcs that's under construction? It's not actually controlled at all by the bad aliens. But presumably, if that's true, the spiders will let someone know and will stop it. The spiders seem to be spreading pretty quickly to important people. So at this stage, I'm wondering if maybe they're right. Maybe Earth is doomed, and maybe we're going to end this book with just a small arc with a small subset of humanity escaping into the stars. All right, we're going to do another 30 pages. It's going to take us from chapter 47 all the way through. We're going to read through chapter 54. It's going to take us to page 250 in this copy of the book. We're getting close to the end now, and stuff's really rocketing towards a conclusion, I feel. I'm really excited to see what goes on next. I'm so tempted to just read it right away instead of waiting my normal week before I read it, but I'm going to be good. I'm going to wait. If you want to read this along with me and you haven't been following the videos, the playlist is up here. And if you want to have a say in what the next read-along is going to be, hit the subscribe button so you know when the poll's going to go up. And remember to keep reading.